Hey there guys, this is Pineapple, and today we're going to be talking all about everyone's favorite maniac, Toga. Himiko Toga is definitely a fan favorite for a lot of people, and she's getting a lot of shine right now in the My Hero manga, so we're going to be talking about her in today's video. This video has spoilers since we're going to be talking about manga stuff, but subscribe and hit the bell icon to see my videos in the homepage subscriber feed when I upload new videos. With that said, let's get started as we break down this dangerous Vanguard Action Squad member after that intro. Hit it! Okay, so what do we know about Toga? Well, for a long time, everything about Toga has been a mystery. She shows up as an obviously crazy schoolgirl that joins the League because she believes in Stain's ideals and she wants to be more like him, and like all of the others, she's been lied to and convinced that Shigaraki stands for the same things as Stain. Toga's a girl of average height for her age, and she's almost always smiling and blushing. She has light blonde hair that she wears in two big messy buns, and she wears a schoolgirl outfit with an oversized sweater that I'm sure she hides tons of knives in. She has a lot of almost feline traits to her, and I'm sure you'll see that more as we talk about her, but you can see it most in her bright yellow cat-like eyes and her very sharp and pronounced, almost fang-like teeth. Her quirk transform lets her completely copy someone else's appearance, including their voice, if she swallows some of their blood. This kind of makes her like Rubber Soul from JoJo Stardust Crusaders, but only in the way that Rubber Soul also made use of some weird gooey stuff that also wrapped around his body and let him change his appearance and voice to that of other people, including their clothes. This disguise works as another layer of skin for Toga, so she has to get naked to wear the costumes of the people that she's switching to, unless she wants her clothes to be over those clothes. But the kicker is that Toga is probably the best equipped to have this sort of quirk because of her personality. Toga doesn't just copy people's appearance and voice on a physical level, but her twisted mind state makes her truly want to become that person, making the illusion all that more powerful. Toga really is a master at impersonating people because when she transforms into someone, she's really letting go of who she is and becoming that person in a really creepy way. None of Cammy's friends realized that Toga had actually switched Cammy out with herself during the provisional license exam, and if it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't use Ochako's quirk to make herself float and save herself, she would have even fooled Deku into thinking that she was actually Ochako, which says a lot when you think about how much time Deku was spent with Ochako and his other classmates. Think of how well he has to know them, and he was still tricked by an outsider who's really only met Deku a few times for a few short moments. Toga can stay in these transformed states for a little bit, but how long depends on how much blood she's had. If she's only had a little bit of a person's blood, then she can become them for a while, but she needs a small cup to be able to remain that person for an entire day. Even without her quirk though, she's still massively dangerous because Toga is extremely fast and her stealth score has to be just on 100. She can vanish out of your sight in a split second if you aren't watching carefully, and she's so capable that she even managed to stab Aizawa and stop him from wrapping her up in his bandages by using her speed and rolling along with the bandages. So what's going on with her now? Well, in My Hero Academia's manga, Toga is the first member of the League of Villains that Horikoshi has focused on in the battle against the Quirk Liberation Army, or the Meta-Humans Liberation Army, whatever you'd prefer to say. Chitose Kazuki is her opponent, and this lady is the president of Shueisha in the My Hero world, who also serves as a high-level villain in an evil organization. It's not technically Shueisha in the My Hero world, but it's pretty much, you know, the My Hero world analog of it. I'll be doing a video on all the members of the higher-ups in this group once the arc is over, but just know that this lady is My Hero's Kira Yoshikage in a lot of ways, and she's been giving Toga a hard time. Chitose wants to interview Toga to see if she can make a story out of Toga's miserable life, and Toga obviously refuses. Chitose knows a whole lot about Toga and the other members of the League, and this is actually how we start getting Toga's backstory, and it's pretty sad. It brings up a real struggle that has gone uncovered in the story. What do people do when they have quirks that are activated in ways that aren't exactly wholesome? Like someone like Stain has a quirk that paralyzes people if he drinks their blood, but could the Hero Society allow there to be a blood-sucking hero that just goes around drinking the blood of his enemies? I guess we have Vlad King and his power controls blood, but it's a little different. With Toga, Chitose actually gives us a pretty good breakdown of what her situation was and how she's descended to the point that she has. Toga was born with a quirk that needed her to drink blood, so of course as a child, she developed an interest in blood that many or most people wouldn't even have as adults. She saw blood as something normal and natural, and it is, but to most people the sight of blood means that there's been violence and that there's been some sort of suffering, and their immediate reaction is to be against that. It's really a case of fearing what you don't understand, mixed with the fact that as a girl growing up in Japan, Toga had very strict guidelines and standards set for the type of person that she supposedly had to be. If you could imagine as a parent, you would definitely be creeped out to find your child biting the heads off of birds and playing with their blood. And sadly for Toga, her parents were more worried about her being normal than taking care of the actual underlying issue in a more kind of constructive way. They put her in quirk counseling, which was something that we actually learned about when Bakugo, Todoroki, and the Shiketsu High students had to take care of those rowdy little kids as part of their remedial course. The teacher back then said that the elementary school years are some of the most crucial and formative for the kids, but it's also around the time that their quirks begin to come out. Because of this, the quirks can actually become something that the kids focus on too much, and they can't separate their personality from the quirks at times. Counseling was common sense to Toga's parents because the core goal of the counseling is to make sure that the kid stays on a straight path. Chitose sees the quirk counseling as a way for society to brainwash people into being obedient and using their quirks in ways that are dictated by those in power. This is one of those things that flies right in the face of the Liberation Army's whole thing about quirk users having complete freedom to use their quirks since the quirks are part of their bodies. Toga went along with the counseling and she hid who she truly was to pretend to be this normal girl. It's like how Mob from Mob Psycho is always suppressing his emotions, and that led to him having some serious instability. For Toga, things finally cracked on graduation day in middle school. Saito was a boy in Toga's school that she had a crush on, but you've got to remember that Toga equates love and admiration with blood. She had to suppress herself in these feelings, and it probably only got more difficult. Finally, she probably decided to confess to Saito on the day of middle school graduation, as is custom for some folks, and it seems that Toga's way of confessing was to stab him and drink his blood through a straw as he writhed on the floor in pain. This moment was the moment where the mask came off. Toga had enough, and in this moment, she let her selfishness get a hold of her and it made her do what she did, but instead of feeling shame, the look on her face when she's drinking his blood is a look of happiness that Toga hasn't been able to experience because she's finally being who she is. This moment of happiness is what probably made Toga decide to live the way that she wants to and do what makes her happy regardless of what the world thinks. This leads to her running from the cops for years, and that's how she became so good at hiding and reading people's emotions, and that's also how she became so acrobatic and fast. We start to see the world from Toga's perspective in this chapter, and she starts telling us about how she feels about things. She says that some people kiss the people that they love, and that's just what's normal to her because that's who she is and that's who she's always been. When Toga starts getting beat by Chitose, she starts to run away, and as she's running, she takes out a little vial from her side pocket and eats some blood. She turns into Ochako, and it's pretty confusing because it's not like Toga can use Ochako's disguise here to blend into the crowd. Remember that 90% of the town that they're in are Quirk Liberation Army members, so what could she possibly be doing? At that moment, Toga starts having an internal monologue about how much Deku and everyone else trusts Ochako, and how jealous she is of Ochako because of that, because Ochako gets to be who she is every day, and nobody attacks her for it or wants her to change. In what she thinks are her last moments before she's killed by Chitose, Toga panics, and right as the final hit lands, Toga realizes that Chitose starts floating away. Toga quickly touches all of Chitose's helpers, and they start floating too, and that's when Toga realizes that she's using Ochako's quirk. This is just massive, because Toga's quirk is only supposed to be able to copy how someone looks, but suddenly she's able to copy Ochako's quirk and use that to win and survive. Now, while Toga herself doesn't really know what's going on here, it seems like, what she does say is that she wants to love even more, which makes Chitose make a face like she finally understands Toga before she's splattered all over the pavement. So what happened here? How did Toga's quirk seemingly awaken? Well, I guess it's time to start theorizing. So the first option of how this happened is the one that I've seen most people suggesting, and that's that Toga's quirk might have evolved due to high stress. We've loosely seen this happen other times when someone's going through a crazy adrenaline rush in the middle of a high stakes moment or battle, and obviously this is something that happens all the time in anime and manga. We all know that certain characters gain new powers when they need them to beat an enemy it seems that they can't beat, and in a world of powers that already have mysterious origins, you can see how a character could unlock an entirely new part to their quirk that they didn't even know about. I'm going to offer an alternative theory though, and one that I think fits more in line with the lore of the world that we've been reading so far. We've been told that sometimes people think that their quirks do one thing, only to later realize that it actually does something else. I think the example we were given was that someone might think that their quirk creates water and allows them to control it, but their quirk might actually be to absorb the moisture from the air around them, and that's something that they learn from using their quirk and learning about it from experience. This change of understanding can really change how some people apply their quirk, or even how they want their costume or support items designed. What do I think is going on with Toga? Well, it seems like Toga is able to copy the quirks of the people that she turns into with a very specific caveat. I'm making an assumption here, but I don't think that Toga is going to be able to just use the quirks of everyone that she copies willy-nilly. I think that there's actually going to be a very specific route that she has to go through to be able to do what she did in chapter 226. At first, I thought it was something crazy, like her being crazy enough to think that if she becomes Ochako in this moment, she'll stop getting attacked because she sees how much everyone seems to have faith in Ochako. I thought about it harder, and now I think it's actually something else. I think Himiko's quirk is similar to Labrava's quirk. Labrava's quirk gives a power boost to the people that she loves, and Toga's quirk is to become a person whose blood she ingests, so they sound super different, but hear me out. Like we've already covered, loving someone means becoming them for Toga, so the more Toga loves someone, the more she wants to become them. Remember that since she snapped on that day of middle school graduation, her idea of living a normal life is becoming the people that she loves so she can love them as much as possible. But that also means that she's loving herself. It's this really sort of messed up weird thing where Toga can't really love herself unless she's taken on the form of the person that she loves. So by taking on Ochako's form here and thinking about how much she wants to be Ochako and how much everyone trusts Ochako, I think this sense of oneness that she has of the person she's copying is something that she needs to have in order to copy that person's quirk. You have to think about it from the literal perspective and Toga's crazy perspective at the same time to sort of make sense of it. But basically, the more that she wants to be someone, aka loves them, the more access to their abilities that I think she'll have. In a way, just like Labrava's quirk, Toga's quirk is using her love, quote unquote, to give the person that she loves a boost in ability by letting them use a quirk that they shouldn't be able to. The issue is that the person that she loves is her transformed self, hence the psychotic aspect of this power. When Chitose screams at Toga and suggests that Toga's new power came from fear or being on the edge of death, Toga's reply is that she's only trying to love more. That reply finally made Chitose realize exactly what I explained above, and that's what made her think that the story of Himiko Toga would actually be an amazing one to write after all, because there's almost a twisted Shakespearean aspect to it. Of course, this could be completely wrong, and Horikoshi could have just given Toga a power-up that lets her effectively copy anyone's quirk at any time, as long as she has their blood, without any of this other stuff having anything to do with it. But for now, this is at least my interpretation of what's going on the page. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section below, and let me know who your favorite member of the League of Villains is while you're at it, and whose fight you're the most excited to see during this arc. I'll be back with more videos soon, so be on the edge of your seat. There's some heat coming. Peace.